Capricorn, hello, Amanda here. Welcome to Unseen Hands Healing. This is going to be your small story reading for the month of January here at the end of the month. So Capricorn, for these readings, for those of you who are new, I choose a book off of the shelf that seems to want to speak to you. I turn to a passage at random and we will read that passage aloud to you. Then we will look at the cards and see how the images on the cards will further illuminate the message that is coming through the reading. Okay, so your reading today is coming from a really unique book, The Year of the King, an actor's diary and sketchbook. This is Antony Sher's journey into his very famous portrayal of Shakespeare's Richard III. Okay. This image is really potent. I would just want you to sit with it for a second, because I felt drawn to sit with it for a second, so perhaps you will be as well. Okay. So this whole book is really in diary format. It follows this year of Antony Sher's life as he uncovers who Richard III is to him and like what this role really means. And for those of you who don't know, Richard III is a very classic Shakespearean villain. Okay, you can read more about Richard III if you'd like. But the passage we are being drawn to here is this really interesting account of Antony going to the home workshop of this famous person that does cast work for, you know, if Antony Sher is turning into this shape, that is not the shape his body looks like. And so in order to play this role, he has to wear a certain cast and like wear these things to create the shape he's looking to create with Richard. And so he goes to the home of this artist to help create that mold. And this is what it says. The artist's name is Chris Tucker, not to be confusing. Chris Tucker's home workshop is a magnificent 16th century manor house in several acres of land near Newbury. He is much friendlier in his own territory. His study is filled with awards, videotapes, scrapbooks, and his masterwork, Hertz Head from Elephant Man. It stands on a little plinth in gruesome three-dimensional technicolor, convincing even to the touch. The bony bits are hard, the pendulous sponges of skin soft and clammy. Next to it, equally whole and real, stands Gregory Peck's head from Boys from Brazil, with dog bites in the neck. Looked much better when it was bleeding, of course, says Chris. Into the workshop, where a bespectacled lady sits patiently sewing hairs, chest hairs, onto a limbless torso. The shelves are lined with face casts of famous actors. It's difficult recognizing these white masks without hair or distinctive coloring. For instance, a beautiful young girl's face turns out to be Peter Firth. People as they really are, says Chris. There are several of Olivier. That's Sir about 10 years ago. That one's more recent. He wasn't at all well when we took it. He removes this one from the shelf and I instinctively reach out for it. Rather reluctantly, he hands it over as if it's a priceless antique. Strange to hold this face in my hands, the expression rather grim as the plaster was applied. You can't help thinking of a death mask. There's something about people as they really are that's sticking out to me. The second thing sticking out to me is this idea of the death mask, specifically in the sense of like, you know, this plaster mold that was taken of Laurence Olivier in a very specific moment of time. And they specifically mention in a time when he was not well, whatever that means. But the fact that the expression of that time in that person's life is sort of cast in this eternal relic, this mold for eternity now, really speaks to this death mask. And it's just, this phrase is ringing in my head, people as they really are. You know, you see this like white cast of just the bone structure of a face, and it looks to be, you know, without all the trappings of hair and color and like skin and flesh and blood, it appears to be this like young, beautiful woman's face. And then turns out, you know, it's Peter Firth. And so there's something happening with that leading up to people as they really are, which is like stripping down to the bare bones of something. But it's so interesting that we're like stripping down to the bare bones of the reality of a person, and like really getting past appearance, but yet using appearance to do it, like using the mask to get past the mask. It's reminding me of this card in Brian Froud's fairy deck, Sylvanius, for any of you that are familiar with that deck. It's a card all about, it's actually a card that's very Shakespearean. Sylvanius is a Shakespeare character, so that ties in well. And there's something about that card being sometimes in order to discover the mask that is lying beneath, you have to put on a mask. Because if anyone has done any mask work as an actor or in theater, there's something incredibly freeing about putting on this mask and having the freedom to allow a personality to come out of you that you maybe have never tapped into before, or never would have felt the freedom to tap into without the guise of this mask. You know, it's like when you put on a mask as an actor, you can sort of behave however the mask possesses you to behave, because you can kind of blame the personality of the mask. Oh, it wasn't me, it was the mask asking me to do it. There's something about that. There's something about that, the act of putting on the mask and experiencing that freedom and like capturing that version of your personality, actually allowing you to see people as they really are. See yourself as you really are, but also maybe like seeing another as they really are. There's something about him holding the face of this like famous person in his hands. I don't know, Capricorn. People as they really are. Let's get into cards here. We're using the Next World Tarot to help illuminate how this passage is resonating or might be resonating in your life. Won't resonate with everyone, obviously, but let's see what comes out, okay? So I'm just gonna spread this deck out here and choose 3 cards at random. 1, and a second one wanted to come with it, and 3. Okay. Let's see, what have we got for Capricorn here? Okay, here's what we have, Capricorn. The 5 of Pentacles says turmoil. The 9 of Wands says resilience. Okay, that's quite a progression. And then we've got the Queen of Wands, the throne of determination. All right, so with the 5 of Pentacles, it says turmoil, and we're seeing a young child alone sitting on top of what looks like moving boxes or storage boxes of some sort. Turmoil. The 5 of Pentacles can speak of feeling alone, feeling left out in the cold, feeling like everything in your life is in flux, like you are lacking resources, lacking support, just very much feeling, I'm drawn to the aloneness in this card. It looks like this young one is sitting on all of the things that she has in her possession, which are few, and feeling a bit glum about the future, feeling a bit isolated somehow in all of this experience. And the 5s talk about a lot of change, so I'm feeling that as well. Like there's a lot of change, turmoil, upheaval perhaps going on with the moving boxes, but then there's this like child that's feeling quite alone during this time. You know, I'm just like looking at this card for the first time being like, where's this child's parents? Are there any friends? Are there any guardians? What's going on? It says for sale back here, and there's all these like money signs up on billboards. The Five of Pentacles can sometimes talk about financial loss or feeling a lack of resources, and it says turmoil. I'm just like seeing a lot of things in the physical material world that may be in flux, that may feel unstable in some way, and like I'm just really drawn to this loneliness. It feels hard, and what's funny is that sort of feels like the child version of this woman. It could be. In the Nine of Wands, which says resilience, turmoil and resilience. It's almost like the way to get through this Five of Pentacles energy, you know, which may be like bringing a lot of turmoil into your life in whatever way that is happening for you, Capricorn, is to go into this energy of resilience with the Nine of Wands. The Nine of Wands talks about endurance. It talks about like getting through, in this particular deck, it talks about getting through hard times by finding your joy in that turmoil. So in both cards, we're seeing someone that is isolated. We're seeing someone who is feeling a bit alone, feeling like they are on this solo journey that is creating a lot of change and a lot of shifting in the foundations perhaps. And there's some loneliness in that. And then in the Nine of Wands, it's like the way you find resilience is to retreat. I see this person as like shut away in her room, just like doing what she loves to do, which is, in this image, play the guitar. You know, like clearly playing stringed instruments back here is something that this person finds a sense of centeredness and grounding in. And that's the method for feeling into that resilience through the turmoil. It's like as this younger aspect of herself is really just like feeling that loneliness and feeling scared. The Five of Pentacles is a card about fear. It's a card about, again, like fearing like you're not going to have what you need. You're not going to have the support that you need. You're not going to have what you need to make it through this time of turmoil, as the card says. And so it's like the advice seems to be like retreating into yourself, retreating into your safe space and doing what you love there to really find that firm sense of self and foundation and resilience inside of yourself, despite what might be going on in the outside world. You know, there might be chaos and turmoil happening outside, but in her bedroom, with all the instruments that this person loves, you know, that's a sense of stability amidst the turmoil, perhaps. And then the evolution, to me, there's a very clear evolution of like maturity and like age, child, young adult, more mature adult. I don't know if you're able to see what I see there. And the Queen of Wands talks about personal power. Stepping through the threshold, okay, the doorway into your personal power. It almost looks like night and day to me with this Five of Pentacles, Nine of Wands energy, which talks about just getting through hard times or getting through times of turmoil and change and flux, where there may be some like loneliness, a feeling of isolation, a feeling of fear. Getting through that by really learning how to rely on yourself and like grounding yourself in the things you love to do that bring you joy. And then there's almost this like emergence coming out the other side of this energy in the fullness of your power through sheer determination, the throne of determination. So Capricorn, what I'm seeing is a potentially difficult transition, a potentially hard time that you may be going through, but it's like with determination and a sense of self-reliance and retreat into what brings you joy in your own rhythm. Since this person is playing music, in your own solo rhythm, you can find the resilience you need to weather this time of fear, loneliness, upheaval, whatever this turmoil, Five of Pentacles, is bringing, and come out the other side more on fire than ever. Stronger in your sense of self, stronger in your sense of personal power, charisma, dynamism than ever before. So I'm connecting this to the reading. People as they really are. You know, there's a lot of versions of me as I really am, you as you really are. It's like, what does that even really mean? Is there one way that I really am? I'm not so sure. I think there's a lot of ways that we change, and we are different versions of ourselves all the time. And I'm kind of seeing that here. I'm seeing that, like, in order to get down to this unmasked, sort of raw version, more internal version of who you are through whatever it is you're going through, there's something happening internally where you have this opportunity to connect with yourself as you really are. I'm not really seeing anybody else in this reading except for you so far. We'll see what happens in the extended, but it's like, in the isolation, this sense of internal isolation that I'm feeling from these cards, there is a potential opportunity for an unmasking before re-entering the world in this other version of yourself that is more dynamic, more engaging, perhaps more social, feeling a stronger sense of power from within, and the passion to express that power outwardly. Whereas this version of you is much more introspective, much more introverted, perhaps. So instead of trying to power through this hard time by just like, I'm just going to Queen of Wands, I'm just going to be this, I'm just going to be this really powerful extrovert, and I'm just going to be this dynamic person that everyone loves, that's full of charisma, and like do this all the time. It's like, hold on, Capricorn. There may be a more internal journey that this perhaps transitional time is asking you to go on, to get really a bit more raw with yourself and maybe with those intimately close to you, through retreating a bit. And then maybe when you're ready to come back out into the world as this version of yourself, you'll have the internal resilience and resources that you need to do that. But you can't really blaze a fire without substantial fuel to burn. And I think here with the Nine of Wands especially, and all this turmoil, whatever's going on in your life, you may be running out of fuel. And there's a need to kind of retreat and build up those reserves so that you can come back stronger than ever, blazing a bigger fire than ever before. Okay, Capricorn, so this is just the first half of your reading. I'm now going to take this into an extended where we will use other clarifying decks and see if we can really get into these cards, figure out what exactly is causing this sense of turmoil and what the advice is in terms of how to find resilience within this. And then what exactly this Queen of Wands is trying to communicate to you and trying to communicate to perhaps others in your life. So we're gonna go into that in more detail now. If you'd like to join me for that extended, stick around. There will be a preview of that at the end of this reading, where you can see if that extended reading is going to continue to resonate with you. And if it is, click the link in the description box below, and that will take you straight over to Vimeo, where you can view this reading instantly, okay? So if that sounds of interest to you, I will see you over on Vimeo. If not, Capricorn, thank you so much for tuning in. Take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you soon. But it's actually in the revealing, allowing that part of yourself to crack the surface, that you get to come into the fullness of who you are. Your full fire power, in fact. We're going to do this. This is you, Capricorn. Moving from the King of Cups that's afraid to express their emotions into full firepower. And the source of that firepower is actually this beast, is actually this, that perhaps, this part of yourself that perhaps you villainize.